All right, well, welcome to Lotus Living with Shar. I am Shar, your host of the show. Here I have some good friends of mine, Del-anie and Kim, who are our guests for today. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
It's all right. This is, very low maintenance type of podcast, no type of expectations or nothing. We're just going to have conversation about, living a healthy, well-balanced life and, maybe what that looks like for you. I think for me, it's important that we extend ourselves to existence and really enjoy life. And, I think we all have a story and something to add that can help us to continue to live the best life possible. So thought you two would be amazing people to come and talk about that experience. So this part of the podcast, I always like to open it up with talk your shit, because I feel like nobody can introduce themselves better than you. Can't nobody introduce me like I can introduce me. So this is your opportunity to introduce yourself, tell the world about you, talk your shit, put your accolades out there, whatever you want to share with us.
Okay, well, I am Del-anie Richardson. Where to start? I do a lot.
Yes.
I currently work two jobs. I work for Maternity Care Coalition as a program director for the Healthy Families America program, which is a child abuse prevention program. So we support families with healthy birthing and parent-child relation bonding and attachment, just to increase, to actually decrease the maternal mortality rate when it comes to childbirth and things like that. And then I also am the Chief Business Development Officer for the Lotus Well Journey to Lotus, working with Shar, where we offer tons of programs and services we've been building up, but right now, especially our therapeutic services are really flying off, to really just be able to support the community with just mental health and the importance around that.
And me and Del-anie have been friends for 15 years now, so we got history. So thank you. And she does everything. When I say everything, y'all, she does everything. She keeps me in line, so I appreciate it.
So I am Kimberly Jones-Mudd. I'm a family physician, and while I am currently working in a direct primary care practice, I am actually getting more and more interested, and my passion is taking me more towards doing obesity medicine and helping people to really realize and live their best life and their healthiest life. So I'm actually really excited. That's my main goal in life at this point, is to get to a point where I can focus just on that. So right now my current practice allows me to really partner with patients and help them to really establish healthy choices and to manage chronic diseases and help them to prevent those chronic diseases, because it's a membership-based practice, so it really gives me the time to spend with patients. And that model has kind of shown me that I really think that's the best model to really work with patients and partner with patients to get to the point of feeling good about themselves and to experience their best life.
Yes. I'm here for the Black woman physician, okay? It's a lot of Black girl magic in here. I'm definitely want to tap into your expertise in a second. In regards to the obesity medicine piece and, sharing my story and my journey and just kind of getting some insight as to how we can help Black and brown people, especially everyone, but particularly our community, in just being able to, take authority over our lives by our physical health, not just our mental, emotional health, but, our physical health as well, because they intertwine, they overlap. The Lotus Well Counseling Services and Wellness Retreat, base our services on the 8 dimensions of wellness, and they are all interconnected. Every dimension of ourselves, every piece of ourselves is interconnected, and our mental, emotional well-being affects how, our body feels. We often feel, stress and, all these other types of things in our body before our mind even realize what's actually going on. So definitely thank you, ladies, for being here with me. I always like to start on a high note. Lotus Living is about just really just having experiences, wellness experiences. So is there, I can't believe it's November. We are approaching the end of 2023 already, which is absolutely crazy to me. So in reflecting on this year, has there been a wellness experience that you have participated in or, engaged in that stood out to you that you like really enjoyed?
I really wanted to take a serious approach, kind of piggybacking off of Kim's focus in obesity medicine, but really just trying to get my own self in a place where, I can get my own weight under control and things like that. So I have completely changed eating habits. I started doing HelloFresh back in March, and I will eat no other way now other than cooking my own meals. I still go out every now and again, but all that ordering out, fast food and all that, I don't do that anymore. Increasing my, water intake and just trying to be more conscientious. I recently just started doing chair yoga.
Yes.
So trying to, because I work both of my jobs, I work remote, so I'm in a sedentary position a lot. So really just trying to incorporate more activity is the next step into my wellness journey as far as my health is concerned. And just managing, everything overall, and just getting into a much physical, healthier space.
Yes. Steps is the key word that I heard in everything that you said. It does not have to be all at once. I used to come from the mind frame of just kind of that instantaneous gratification. We're all, that's just society now anyway. That's Americans. We want that instant gratification. However, it's about the steps. As long as you're taking the steps, it doesn't matter how small, doesn't matter how big, because a small step to me is a huge step for somebody else. So as long as you're taking the steps that you need to live the life that you want to live, I think that's what's important. Maybe it's an ounce of water more a day versus a whole cup, before you know it, those ounces go up to 8 and then you had a cup. I think we should be doing things in our own time and how we want to do it at the end of the day. So yeah, so that's awesome. I still gotta redeem my HelloFresh referral. I haven't done it yet. I'm still going to do it. I'm still getting the notifications, but I've kind of been waiting to kind of see what my diet is going to look like and be, but I'm excited about HelloFresh. The fact that you've been talking about it so much, I'm like, dang, that would be cool, to cook meals.
They have so many meal plans out there, so even if it's not HelloFresh, you could find something that works for you. But just the fact that I live alone, my children are grown,
right?
So trying to prepare meals, going to the grocery store, spending $200-300 on food, meats, and all that to cook for who? It's just me.
Yeah, right.
The main thing I like is I get just what I need for that recipe.
Yes.
I can cook, 2 servings. Portion size has been a big thing. I can't eat the way I used to because I get 2 servings in each meal that I order. So I eat 1 serving one night, and when I tell you it's a serving and it ain't hungry man serving, it's portioned properly that one night and then the next night. So now after doing it for 6 months, I can't even eat in one sitting the way I used to.
That's amazing.
So,
yeah. Okay, I'm here for that.
Get on it, girl. Get on it.
Yes, I will. I'll tell you about HelloFresh. And this, by no means, we do not promote HelloFresh. We're not getting no monies from HelloFresh, but we're talking about real experiences. And if these are subscriptions and tools and things that we use, that's what we use. So thank you, HelloFresh. By all means, if you would like to, bring us on in, we'll accept it. Right. But yes, that's amazing. I'm excited to try it and just see how it works for me. So I'll keep you posted.
So I'll tag on to the whole idea of the steps. because I think it's all about making those little small steps to make big change. So for me this year, I would say actually started more last year into this year, but I went to a conference on plant-based and healthy, lifestyle, living with more of that plant-based type of meal planning. And I've been making steps towards taking out the extra animal products in my meal planning. So I've never really been a fan of beef and pork. It's not something that is anything specific about. It's just, those are things that don't agree with me. And I think we have to listen to our bodies when they tell us that, something's giving you indigestion or you're not feeling good after you eat it, then you have to really take that into account. So in going to plant-based, it's been a little bit easier for me because I already had those two. So mostly I eat chicken and up until this point, mostly chicken and some fish and seafood. So what I've really been doing is working more towards going pescatarian and kind of more towards the Mediterranean feel with that. So in doing so, I've been really making efforts to have meals that are just plant-based without meat. And really trying to get to a point where even if I'm pescatarian and eating fish, that fish isn't every day. It could be, once or twice a week, and then really getting beans and lentils and, using other sources of protein to really work on improving my health. I'm noticing differences already. One thing is indigestion. So for me, I get a lot of indigestion. And with the, when I eat meals that are not containing meat, I don't really have indigestion. So that kind of says my body doesn't like it. I mean, everybody has different, things that their body tells them. But for me, I know that I feel much better when I, am not eating meat. So.
Yes. Wow, listening to your body. I have not had to listen to my body as much as I have to listen to my body now. For those of you who are just probably tuning in, who have not seen previous episodes, I have had the VSG surgery, and that is what they call the gastric sleeve or vertical sleeve gastrectomy. So it is a bariatric surgery. And what they do in the surgery, for lack of a full description, is that they remove 80% of your stomach and you are left with 20% of your actual organ stomach. Not this one, the one on the inside. So my stomach, yes, not this one. But it was a laparoscopic procedure. I have 6 incisions, which are actually healed now, 100%. So I healed really well. But, the actual organ stomach is the size of an infant stomach at this point. And it's a sleeve. Like, they don't change any of your organs or anything like that, like the gastric bypass. They're not moving anything around. They literally just, took out the 80%. And so it's called the sleeve because it looks kind of like a banana at this point, sleeve-like. It's just that the pocket of the stomach now is very small. And so I am actually, as of today, 7 weeks post-op. So I'm still new. Very, very green with, this particular lifestyle, but have realized it is a lifestyle change nonetheless. Something that I felt like I needed to do for me because unfortunately I have 3 children. No, that was the fortunate part. Fortunately, I had 3 children. Unfortunately, the last 2 babies that I had just really changed my body in general. Like, diet and exercise, my body did not respond to diet and exercise the way it used to. It used to respond well, when I ate clean, when I exercise, because, exercising was never like really my issue. I like being active. I'm a line dancer. I like going hiking. My body just didn't respond the same. I would go months and months eating clean, working out, and I would lose like 3 pounds. The same 3 pounds, like back and forth. And, it was a very, difficult decision to make, but one that I do not regret. And so when you say listening to your body, I now don't have a choice. I have to, because my body is not doing what it used to do. And so when it says, no, don't drink that, when it says, no, you can't eat that, I actually just transitioned into being able to incorporate some solid foods into my diet, because initially you go through a whole progressive stage of, full fluids and pureed and then soft and then to solid food. So I'm now like on the brink of that transition into solid foods, and just being able to really reintroduce food back into my diet. I'm like starting over, and I have to remind myself that if your body say no, it don't want it say no. When you're full, if that's what you feel, whether it was 1 spoon, 2 spoons, you're full and you have to be done. And so I think really being able to listen to our bodies, like you said, Kim, is so important. And it's like we want it, and it's just like being able to fight through that. Yeah, but you can't have it, and just being okay with that part. So I think that's really important. So thank you for sharing that, because that's definitely something that resonates with me now, since having the surgery. So, in talking about, my experience, with having VSG, I know that one of the areas of medicine that you're transitioning into is obesity medicine. Tell us a little bit about obesity medicine and what that entails.
So one thing I think, the biggest thing about obesity medicine is, as a medical community, it's time that we start addressing obesity for the disease process that it is. For so long, it's been a statement in the medical community and an understanding of the medical community that if you just put the fork down, you wouldn't have a problem. Calories in, calories out. If you just reduce, you'll get to that point and you can all be healthy. And we're finally getting to a point where there's a number of people that are finally understanding there's more to it. Yeah. Doesn't mean that there isn't some of that that play a role in terms of how we eat will make a difference in how we look to some extent. But there's so much more to it, and obesity medicine is a discipline within medicine now where there is a focus on really having a better grasp on the hormones, the actual medications, lifestyle, and all the different facets that really go into the necessary things that need to happen for a person to really, be healthier and improve their weight, and not only lose weight but maintain it, which is such a big thing that we talk about obesity medicine, because so many of us who've had this struggle go on the ups and downs and the roller coaster of our weights, and it's tougher and tougher as we get older, and there's even components behind that that will dictate that, make it more challenging, that we don't even completely understand. So for me, I've always struggled with my weight, and I went to one conference on obesity medicine, and it changed my life because I finally realized that all the thoughts that I had, and even after one medical school, still didn't really have a complete understanding of the whole process and what's going on in my body and what's going on in other people's bodies. But that's where we get a chance now to, as a community, start having those conversations, start doing the research. Like there's new research on even like your gut and the microbiome, which is the bacteria in your gut, and how that influences your weight. And we talk about hormones and now the new medications with the GLP-1s and all of those different things that we can now, like, because we're finally opening the door to have a discussion and doing the research, we can actually start coming up with new technology and new ways to approach it so we can have patients actually have more success. And then once we get to that success of losing the weight, now we can, see the maintenance of that, change too, with some of the medications, some of the understanding changing too, because a lot of times because of that whole roller coaster, people have the idea, I lost the weight, I'm ready. And then they kind of fall off and go into whatever they were doing, whether it be Weight Watchers, doctors, or whatever, and they kind of go into their own, get into their own life, and they're not really still making those same efforts. But now we're talking about maintenance more, people are even understanding that there's still effort going on even after you lose the weight.
Yeah.
Even for, people who had surgery, the idea that, okay, because I had the surgery, I'm good. So go to, to the doctors for, a couple of years after surgery or a year after surgery. I'm good. My body healed. I'm ready to go. But there's another element that goes along with that, which means, we have to constantly stay plugged in some way.
Yeah.
Whatever that way is, it's up to that person, but you always have to stay plugged in because otherwise the weight will creep back up. And that's the hard part.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you have to be all in on a consistent basis. When researching this surgery, I became like almost obsessed with, following people on Instagram and on YouTube who has had the surgery to kind of see what their experience of it was. And then of course it kind of exacerbated after having the surgery, because now I'm like, okay, so how y'all living for real? Let me see what kind of recipes y'all eating. And one of the things that I noticed for one, VSG is a very common surgery apparently. I don't think I realized how common it was until I started finding, researching like, oh, a lot of people that had this surgery. But some of the feedback, is that you will gain the weight back. Like if you do not create a wellness plan for your physical health, meaning changing your diet, continuing to exercise, continuing to, go to the doctor, get your checkups, because we're supposed to see our doctor after, of course, that initial year, every year for like 5 years after the surgery. If you don't continue to invest in that way, you will gain the weight back. And I can't really speak to anybody else's experience, but this is not a surgery that I want again. For one, you can't remove 80% and it's only 20 left, which means my only 2 options would be to have gastric bypass or to get like the restructure or like the retightening they talk about. I could not imagine doing this again. It wasn't the worst thing that I've ever experienced to date. Birth. It's still the worst thing that I've experienced. One of my children, I had no medicine, natural birth, and baby, let me tell you something, delivery, as y'all know, is not for the faint of heart. Regardless, whether you have medication, whether you don't, but let me tell you something, that put me in another realm of womanhood. But, it wasn't the most pleasant thing. And to have gone under anesthesia, my actual surgery was 3 hours long. The recovery, it was like, I would never do this again. Like, this has to be one and done, so I don't have a choice. I have to eat healthy. I have to work out, because you will gain it back. And, I think it's also, important, something that you said, when it comes to other reasons people are overweight. It's not sometimes, and I want to say a good bit of the time, it's not the overeating. That's the part I think, certain communities and just society has kind of placed on us, especially now with social media and the surgeries and the cosmetic surgery and all these things. It's like, oh, put the fork down, like you said, and it's not the fork. When, following some of the people that I follow, a lot of times they talk about their relationship with food and how their relationship with food was unhealthy and that they were, had some form of a food addiction. Well, that's not my story.
Right.
I wasn't addicted to food. Unfortunately, I want to say my genetics, my body chemistry, after babies change your body chemistry. Age, like you said, just for whatever reason, I can't do what I used to do. And my body needed a shock. And this was kind of like, okay, an aggressive one and a shock nonetheless. where it's like, oh, okay, sure, something else is going on here, let me restructure myself, but that wasn't like my problem, if anything, when depressed or feeling some type of way or anxious or overwhelmed, I don't eat at all. I don't go eat, and so that wasn't my situation. And so I think that it's important to take every aspect, just like you said, it's not one thing, it's multiple things for people. So I definitely appreciate that. Yeah.
I just want to say that is so important, because talking to Kim, many a times and hearing that, behind doors, doctors make those kind of comments and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's always been very frustrating for me because, like you said, that's not my story. Mm-hmm. I'm not an emotional eater. I'm not an overeater. I'm an undereater, and understanding what that does to the body and how it triggers your body into starvation mode and you start storing up fat to the point where now it's offensive for people to just assume because you're overweight, you overeat. Yeah. No, not really. Like, I would go all day without eating and then just eat once. So overeating was never my problem, but since I was probably about 13, I've struggled with weight, and like you said, having children did not help. That totally changed everything. So I think it's important for people to understand that weight journey is different for everybody, and really being able to make whatever choices you need to make for yourself that's going to get you to where you want to be, whether it's surgery, whether it's diet, exercise, depending on how your body responds. I was one of those people that too used to think like, oh, I'm gonna just get surgery and be done with it. But then after researching and realizing, I was like, I'm too scared to get surgery, but I gotta do something. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I saw on YouTube, and I should have saved the video, I didn't, but it was somebody on there, and she had posted a video just on how she had lost 50 pounds on portion control. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, that's so key, because now, like I said, eating the way I've been eating, my portions are much smaller now. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't even eat the way I used to, which then shrinks your stomach, so you don't even want to eat the way you used to. So it's really just about finding a process that's going to work for you and having a support system to help you get through, taking those steps. And once you get one step, all right, you've been on to the next step and keep pushing through it.
Yes, I think support system is key. I don't care what type of transition you're going through or what you're trying to encounter, whether it's your physical health, your mental, emotional health, your intellectual health, whatever it is, you have to have a support system. And for me, I want to say overall, like I want to say that I have a solid support system. I've been blessed to not necessarily have to be out here by myself. I never feel like I'm by myself. However, some very close individuals to me just really didn't understand why. Like, why are you making this choice? My dad being one of those people. It's just like, well, why can't you just run around the block a couple times? And it's like, from the moment, even though, I say, despite having the feeling that he's having, was the only one at the hospital and saw me through the surgery. It's like, in one instance, you're supporting it because it's like, all right, well, I mean, this is a decision that you're making for yourself. However, I'm talking about while they're pushing me in the OR, asking me, am I sure? Mm-hmm. Are you sure? As they're literally pushing me through. And it's like, I get that, no, running around the block a couple times is not going to do it. The thing is, you don't understand. Just know that I've been raised solid enough, have had enough lived experience in a lot of different areas of my life to where trust that when I make a decision for myself, especially a decision as serious as a major surgery. Like, nowadays, I started realizing some of the small things, like when I go to a doctor or if I go to the ER and they say, you haven't had any surgeries, I'm going to have to say yes. Mm-hmm. This is like one of them. I used to be like, oh no, I got my wisdom teeth out, whatever the case may be. But this is a major surgery that I will always have to say, oh yes, I had this surgery. I mean, I have titanium staples in the organ part of the stomach, and I'll have those. It's funny, my surgeon was like, I was like, is it staples in my stomach? He was like, yep, titanium. I said, will they be there forever? He was like, when you're dead and I'm dead, they'll still be there. And I'm like, okay, am I going to go off on a x-ray machine? He was like, no, they're good on that note. But, sometimes your loved ones don't understand, why you're making some of the decisions, and they think that you can do it in a way that they want to do it for a lot of different reasons. Of course, to have to go under anesthesia and have surgery, it's like, you want to avoid it. If you can avoid it. But some people can't. And I was one of those people that couldn't. So I totally understand what you mean in regards to support and, just taking those necessary steps that you need to take for you at the end of the day. Because you got to deal with your body. You got to deal with how you feel, your health. Kim, when you talked about, just kind of recognizing, being in tune with your body and just some of the changes that you've made so far with following, more plant-based diet, getting rid of some of the heavier meats like the beef and the pork and stuff like that, you feel better. It's like you feel, and I'm appreciating feeling more than the scale. So can I say I have yet to get on the scale since the surgery at home. Anytime I've gotten on the scale the day of the surgery, I ain't have a choice. My first follow-up appointment, which was 2 weeks post-op, and then I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. At home, I have refused to get on this scale because I know how I can be, and I know as women, our weight fluctuates for a lot of different things, for a lot of different reasons. We hold water with all sorts of things. And I don't want to fixate on that. Yes, I have a weight goal. I do. And I'm keeping that in mind, but more so paying attention to how I feel. I must say, even though I don't necessarily see the weight loss, and of course, some of the people I follow talk about the whole body dysmorphia and how, people can see that they're smaller than they were, but when they look in the mirror, they still see the big girl. They still see the big guy. I don't necessarily feel that, but I also think that I'm also new. And so I still see myself as I was 6 weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago that I was still myself. And I think, over time, I'll probably identify that. But I think also the concept of, because you're obese, you're unhealthy, is also a false narrative, because there are people way smaller than me who are also unhealthy, who have high cholesterol, who has sleep apnea, who has hypertension. It's not necessarily your weight that causes some of these health problems. It could be genetics. It could be, an unhealthier lifestyle. If you're a smoker, you already, as a skinny person or a smaller person, increase your chances of heart failure or heart disease or, emphysema or some of those other lung capacity issues, and you could be small. You know what I mean? It's not about that. It's really about your own personal experience. So I think that's important to say. There's so many diets, so many different types of surgeries, so many different pills. Of course, as of late, we're on the injection push, right? So we got the Wegovy's, we got the Ozempics, and some of the other ones that are coming out in regards to weight management and maintenance. How do you feel about some of these, options that people have in regards to weight management? Being able to have a certain diet or certain pills or injections. How do you feel about those tools? Because even VSG is considered a tool. It's not considered a fix. Because of course I can always revert back to who I used to be. But how do you feel about them being utilized in people who choose to do them everyday lifestyle and managing their health?
I think the best thing to do for any person who's really trying to lose weight and they're committed is to really talk to a healthcare professional about options, because when I sit down with my patients, I want to sit down and have a whole conversation and talk about their own personal journey, and also discuss where the barriers they may see for themselves that are presenting to cause those challenges when they are trying to lose. I think most people, by the time they have reached, say 30s, if they've had any issues with weight, starting from, let's say, teens on, have made multiple attempts. I don't think there's anybody who's in their 30s, I won't say there's no one, but let's say it would be a rare occasion to meet somebody who's in their 30s who has issues with their weight and has had it for several years and has not made an attempt. So in making those attempts, you learn things about yourself. Mm-hmm. So, and even when those attempts are successful and we regain, you learn something about yourself. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times we don't do that self-reflection to figure out that, and that's what I like to do, is sit down with a patient and really, have that discussion. What are your barriers? What is your journey? Because, your heaviest weight, your lowest weight, your weight that you've been at most of your life, all of that kind of, says a lot about your story. Mm-hmm. And it says a lot about, how we're going to approach your weight loss and maintenance, because, the body wants to maintain a certain weight, and it may not be the weight that you want to be. So sometimes, having that discussion, really figuring out, is number one. And then once we have that discussion and figure all that out, then it becomes a matter of, so what are we going to do, right? Is it going to be medication? Is it going to be meal replacements? And even if it's medication or meal replacements, what kind of meal planning are we doing once we get to maintenance? Because that's the other question. Like, if you do the weight loss medications, along the way, you should really be making efforts and making changes and choices that are going to help you to lose, but also help you to maintain once you have reached your goal. Yeah. One of the biggest things is adding in that extra element of fitness and increasing that fitness, because while fitness by itself will not help you really get to that weight loss goal if you're in that, BMI category above 30, fitness will help you maintain. Because as you build that muscle mass, you're going to have, a greater ability to be able to burn and be able to maintain. So that's where all of that comes in together. So I think the best plan for weight loss is a comprehensive plan. It really takes everything into account and, and really, allows a patient to really do a lot of self-reflection. Mm-hmm. Even with, surgery. Like, I think that's a big, place that, isn't always completely understood, depending on the person, depending on the doctors and things like that. But, I have patients who have had surgery that come after. They're not necessarily gaining all their weight back, but they've gained some of it back. So we may talk about medication at that point. That wasn't for them before, but now it is. Mm-hmm. Or, we're talking about, hey, I was doing this and doing this so diligently after the surgery and I fell off track, and now we talk about what we can do to get back on track. There's so many different things. And then with the medications, there's, they're tools, but the whole thing is you gotta know how to use the tool, because you got phentermine, you got Qsimia, you have Contrave, and now you have, the Wegovy or the Saxenda, and all of those medications work differently. So really the most important thing is to figure out what you need the medication for, so we don't give you a medication that isn't really addressing, your issue. Is it emotional eating? Is it binge eating? Is it, a matter of just really making the right choices, or are you having, some gap in that feeling of satiety, which is where Wegovy comes in. So there's, so many different ways to approach it. I think, it's important to really have an all-out discussion.
Yes.
So you can have best success.
All-out discussion, holistic discussion. And I find that at times, when it comes to the medical field, it doesn't always encompass a holistic mindset. It's kind of one track, because, physicians overall, just the medical field in general, is scientific based. It's, outcomes, it's numbers, but we can't really avoid now taking into consideration health outcomes for other issues. That's what the ACEs, the average childhood experiences study was all about. They were talking about health outcomes, but didn't realize that, because a child may have experienced domestic violence or have seen domestic violence in their life, this might happen. Because the parent, had substance use, they now have an increase for asthmatic, to be an asthmatic. Or like, nobody was like, wait, one of these, this influences the other thing. There's a correlation. There's a correlation, guys. So, it's possible that we can increase positive health outcomes, especially of people of color, because that was really, even though ACEs can be applied to any particular community, it was really people of color that they were focused on at that time, how those adverse childhood experiences can affect their physical health. If you have, experienced divorce in your family, or, one of your parents was abused, or you were physically abused, well, we know on the mental health side that it's possible that you may engage or have a higher risk to engage in maladaptive behaviors like substance use, like hurt people. So now you are the abuser, or whatever the case may. Well, yeah, I would consider that to be a definite health outcome that's been jeopardized. Using drugs and things of that nature to kind of cope with some of those things. And so, I think that's really important to make a holistic decision. And that now, physicians like yourself, and I'm sure you've been this way, you're a rare breed physician, because it's not the pop in, pop out culture that, we're used to when it comes to, especially on my side, the psychiatry piece, where it's like, I'll talk to you for 5 minutes, let me write this prescription and let me take you on your way. It's like, let me have a conversation, because when you start to have that conversation, things start to make sense. And I think that that's really, really important. When it comes to obesity and Black and brown folks, how important is it? How vital is it right now that, or how does obesity affect Black and brown people? And what do you think could potentially be a step in the right direction, in addition to what you said, in really cultivating a healing process, a recovery process when it comes to obesity and weight? Because that's still a recovery thing, because, we're talking so many different things that could influence a person's obesity, in cultivating a space for those types of individuals to start to kind of process that.
So I think the first, when we look at the Black and brown community, we're always going to see with pretty much most disease processes, greater incidence. That always, seems to be, a topic that people, will gravitate toward. And obesity, would kind of fit in that same category. And a big part of the epidemic that we're seeing with obesity is the fact that it starts in childhood, and it's about how we, twofold. One is how we, as a community, define what's overweight, what's normal weight, and also how we feel about the characterization of coming from someone else about your child, your child's health, or whatever that may be. So I feel like that's the start of it, is the whole thing of removing the stigma and being able to actually have these conversations about health. Take out the cosmetic side of it, because it's not, that's really not the most important thing. As much as it is the thing we see, it's not the most important thing. So let's talk about health from the very beginning. Let's talk about the health of our children, and let's talk about, how we want to live long lives and how we're going to do that. And if we focus on that from the beginning, we can start making changes in the epidemic to begin with, to start saying, hey, let's feed our children healthy meals. Even if that means, figuring out how to do prep and things like that, that we're not going to necessarily, get that fast food. Let's talk about, getting our children involved in activities, physical activities, that don't necessarily mean it has to be this or has to be that, but just get up and move in the house. Let's just do something. Let's just move. And then the other piece becomes, as a culture, once we have all of that, actually getting to a point where, I guess I would even say as a culture, from the medical community, that we can start having conversations with our patients in a way that we're being sensitive to the discussion, so we can have a discussion. I can't approach a parent about their child's weight without thinking ahead on how that's going to impact the child and the parent. We have to be able to have a discussion about the child's health and what we're going to do to make sure that child is making healthy choices, because those choices are what's going to carry us into adulthood. and also recognizing when there is, you know, a child that's, you know, having some, you know, overweight or obese, and we're seeing it maybe even on the extreme side, being able to be open-minded enough and not just assume that that family is doing something wrong, but maybe even exploring a little bit and making sure there isn't anything organically wrong that may be causing it.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of things get overlooked because we're so quick to judge, you know, instead of really opening the door up for discussion and really figuring out, like, you know, the whole picture, taking the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I approach a family when one child is having, you know, overweight or obese, my approach is to really talk about it as a family dynamic. Let's talk about how we can all be healthy, how we can all, but not just family, how we can all be healthier, how we can all work together. Because you never want to single a child out if they're, you know, different than their siblings, because they're already getting that from siblings. So you never want to make it, you know, even more of an emotional piece for that child, because that's just going to continue to carry through. So I think we need to, as a whole, like, you know, really come together as a family and make these choices for the whole family that are going to be healthy choices. And I mean, I think that even goes to, you know, when we're not even talking about obesity, because children in general are going to pick up their healthy habits when they're young, and you know, we don't always really emphasize health, you know, with our children, I think, as much as we should. And, you know, how much vegetables are we getting? You know, when I'm sitting in and talking to, you know, children about their, you know, specific dietary habits, you know, I don't know what anyway. So let's expose them to different vegetables. Let's go out and get some things that we might not normally get, just so they can start experiencing things, because the habits we pick up as a children are what's going to, you know, take us into adulthood. If adults aren't eating vegetables, they didn't eat vegetables as children, you know. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, if we look at our history as a group, you know, we didn't always have the best quality of food to choose from. So we made some choices, and our families made choices, and our ancestors made choices because they had to. But when you know better, you do better. You know, and now we're in a position, you know, where we are in a, you know, a position to be able to make healthier choices. And that's not to say that that's always the case, because I think if you take it even further out and say from a community standpoint, when we talk about food deserts and things like that, that's where it goes even further to say we as a society need to put healthier options in all communities and really make that a focus as well. This is a problem that goes so far beyond our homes directly. So I think that's the other piece, because if I don't have, you know, a grocery store up the street, you know, how can I, you know, go in and make, you know, and buy and cook for my house if I don't have a car to go ride outside of my community? So that takes it to a whole nother level, you know. But that's, it's a big picture. I mean, you really start looking at all the different elements.
It's a systemic issue.
It is.
Right?
It is. And to what she said, adding on to that, affordable options, because that's the other piece. Eating healthy is not cheap. So with the HelloFresh plug, listen, I'm not discounts for new users. How about the existing users? But it's not cheap to eat healthy. When you think about the Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and those stores that sell the more organic foods and things like that, they're also the more pricier stores. So if you live in a community where all you have is Cousins Market, you getting what you can afford. You know what I mean? And the healthy choices may not be what's on the shelves.
That is the truth.
So it's definitely a systemic problem, like across the board, having those options in the community, and so that Black and brown working class families can afford those options.
I think that is a significant issue. Affordability, accessibility, right? Because then it's like, okay, there are some places that may have affordable things, but then you can't get to those places. But then just the, I guess, stigma too, of some of the places that have the affordable foods that might even be giving it away for free are like food pantries in different places like that. And families sometimes, due to the stigma, don't want to be seen at a food pantry. And so we've been trying to, like, you know, some of my students that I work with that have intellectual disabilities, and we provide them, you know, services to give them employment training and exposure. Do, you know, a lot of volunteer work at the SHARE program. And so we attempt to make it, you know, with some of the things that they do in boxing up some of the foods. SHARE has delivery drivers that volunteer to discreetly deliver those foods, so that not only we're creating accessibility and trying to minimize you know, individuals not being able to get the food that they need, food insecurities. They're trying to resolve food insecurities, but also trying to make it discreet, right? For some individuals, they can't get there because either they don't have car fare, they don't have a car to pick it up. If they're on the bus, you're talking about these big behind boxes of food. You know, it's like, okay, so how do we meet the need of the community? Sometimes we gotta bring it to them. You know, somebody that I had grew up with, I would say I went to middle school with, is an urban farmer. And I know, you know, I follow her on social media, you know, have supported, you know, some of her pop-ups and things of that nature. And, you know, she's opening, I believe, a storefront in Kensington. Under the bridge, you know, and I think, you know, when she announced that this is what she was doing, you know, and had the plans, and, you know, and shout out to Krista Barfield at Farmer John. Shout out to you and everything that you're doing over there. You know, when she announced the plans on her social media, you know, one of the things she talked about or mentioned is like, why are you putting this store here? You know, because as an urban farmer, she's all about growing your own food and, you know, pretty much utilizing the land for our nutrition, what we were supposed to be doing. But of course, because we talk about, you know, survival, Black and brown folks are often in a survival mindset. We had to make do with what we had. And of course, when talking about that generational piece, now we're still doing it, you know, because on the medical side, you see it. I see it on the mental health side all the time. These generational behavior patterns that we're still, you know, engrossed in, you know, that it's very difficult to eradicate. And, you know, her thought process, which is my thought process on the mental health side, is, well, I'm putting it in a community that needs it the most. So I'm gonna come, because they're not gonna come to my farm over here, because where my farm is, this population is not. You don't have the people on drugs, you don't have, and I'm talking about, like, you know, we're familiar with Kensington and, you know, what is in that area, you know, what type of behaviors, what type of, you know, crimes and things that are happening over there. You know, her farm is not located in a place where that type of traffic is going on. We know substance use is everywhere. It's just not on the street, you know, where her farm is. And it's like, this is one of our toughest areas out here in the city right now. You know, where you can blatantly use just right outside. Very scary type of situation. And so, with that said, it's like, these are the people that need the food, though. I can't do a whole lot of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed you. And I'm going to feed you at the healthiest capacity. Because just because you struggle with substance use don't mean you don't need to be nourished. And who knows, with resolving those food insecurities, how much that might influence the need or the want to be and feel better. You don't know. I say try. Ain't nobody tried it yet. I say let's do it. You know, let's kind of figure that thing out. So I really think that that's important. Just coming back to, you know, one of the things that Del had talked about in regards to having a support system. You two have been friends for a very, very long time. And I think that, you know, having friendships are really important. What would you consider to be, and I would assume that, you know, you both feel that you both are a part of each other's support system. What would you feel is a recipe for a good friendship, a sustainable one?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me see, because yes, we have been friends. I did the math. It's been 43 years.
Woo!
I had to put that.
Shit!
You gonna put the age
No,
out
listen,
there.
put the years out there. That's a listen. telling you.
Wow,
I'm telling you.
It's been 43 years. We met as young children. I think the biggest ingredient in the recipe is trust. I trust her. I trust her with my life. I trust her with my family. You know, my children. She's the godparent of my children. And just the other piece is respect. We respect each other's similarities, but we also respect each other's differences. And just being able to share and communicate without judgment, giving each other sometimes the hard truth, even when we don't want to hear it. But still, you know, I don't agree, but I got you. You know what I mean, kind of thing. I don't think there's anything that I can't tell her out of, because I've heard people, you know, they have friends that they feel are close, but there's still a limit to what they will share. There's a limit to what they will, you know, allow them into their innermost, darkest circles, out of fear of judgment or being rejected or things like that. And I don't have that fear without I don't feel like there's anything that I can tell her where she's going to like not be my friend anymore, even if it's something that she don't agree with, or she might tell me that you know you was wrong. But you know, nothing that she's going to be like, you know, okay, we can't be friends anymore. Yeah. So trust, respect, and just being able to rely on the other person.
Yes.
So, actually, trust was in my brain for a minute, and then communication actually went over top of the trust part. So, I think trust is huge because it's a part of communication, because we can't really communicate on every level if the trust isn't there. So that's first. But communication I put over top of trust, because I feel like even if the trust is there, if we can't openly, actively listen to each other and be able to share completely, then you know that takes away from the friendship too. So being friends, like she said, from before we went to elementary school, we've been through so many different stages in our lives, and while different stages may involve us talking less because of whatever may be going on, it's like when we start talking again, it's like we pick up where we left off, and that space never happened, you know. We both went to college, two different campuses of the same school, which was kind of weird because that wasn't planned. And then, oddly enough, really dating ourselves, started communicating like on the chats through the campus. I don't know if you remember that, like, because this is like
really
the internet.
Now,
right?
let me just put it out there. I have probably the worst memory on the history of the earth. I'm just going to say that.
But it was the intranet. Like Pitt had an intranet, not like the internet, but it was like, you know, within the campuses that we started like talking back and forth on that.
Wow.
And that was probably my first year or second year. It's funny because I think I thought about that not that long ago. I was like, I didn't even tell Mariah about it. But it's kind of like how far we've come, like with being able to communicate. Back then, like, you know, you had the phone, but you didn't have cell phones. Right. So you were on a college campus, you didn't really have like active where we were going to talk all the time. So we had actually started where we would go to the computer lab, you know, different times, and like, you know, chat or whatever. I send her a message, she sent me a message back. So almost like an email, more of a chat type of email. But that was just building that communication back, because she went off to school. She's a year before me, so when I went off, it was like we reconnected again, and you know, and then throughout different
that out there.
Hey, you know what the age out there? But so every like stage in our life, as we do different things, you know, I'm in school, I'm really bogged down with like studying and everything else. We may not talk as much, but then I finish school, and it's like, oh, now we got more time to talk, or you know, different, you know, periods in our life. We just always, you know, come back in with the communication. So I think communication becomes really key in being able to really have that open communication. Because I do feel the same. Like I could say, you know, anything. I can, you know, even if it's not in my head, I already know this is not the right thing to do. I can still come and say something to her, you know, while she may tell me it's not the right thing to do. There's no judgment there with it. You know what I mean? We may have a conversation and she may even say, well, go ahead, you can do it, you know.
Right,
and in my head, I already knew it wasn't the right thing to do. But, you know, it's like one of those things where, you know, if you talk to another person, you're not gonna tell them all those like thoughts that you have that you know aren't right. So I think that's the piece that I would say is that key that is woven all the way through our friendship is the communication, the trust, the communication, and then the respect part too. But it all comes together, I think, all under that umbrella of being able to really openly bare your soul and know that you can be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I think that's it too. That vulnerability that you can have with whatever your spouse and your family and your parents and different things. But that friendship when you can be completely vulnerable to a person. I think that's key.
Yeah, I think vulnerability is a mouthful in itself as a word, because there's nothing like being able to have a relationship with someone that no matter what you share, judgment is not an option, right? It's like it takes a lot for a person to be vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage, and bravery to expose yourself in a way, good, bad, or indifferent, in a way that, you're not really sure what the reception is going to be. So to be confident in the reception, like, okay, it's not that they agree or not agree with what I'm saying, but they're not judging me as a person. That's two totally different things. I don't have to agree with what you said or what you told me you was going to do. However, I can still offer support and still not judge the decision. And I don't think people really understand the difference. We overlap and sometimes muddy the water of really what true being truly non-judgmental actually means. So I mean, I think that is amazing, and I think in both in all of the above, our journey to the best lifestyle possible, the best living possible, having that support system and people that you can trust and can love on you and you love on them through your transitions, I think is important, because you talk about, 42 years, 43 years is such a long time. And you surely go through transitions in that amount of time, not just with age, but with family dynamic, having kids, getting married, getting divorced, losing jobs, getting other jobs, going back to school. There's so many things that can occur. Maybe traumatic experiences, maybe not. When you put all that in to say, but I still got Del, I still got Kim, is a big deal, and not everybody has that. And so I think that is a great way to flow into our mindful moment, which is toward the end of our segment. So during our mindful moment, I'll usually either provide some form of a practice or a question prompt and self-reflection or something of that nature. So I have a light question for you. What's your social media weakness?
Well, for me, I don't really have a social media presence.
Well, see, so there are a lot of different forms of social media.
Okay.
YouTube is one of them.
Pinterest then.
Okay.
Now, I will go on Pinterest and look up nail designs when I do my nails, hair designs, and I got this style off Pinterest. So yes, if that's what you're talking about, yes, then it's definitely Pinterest.
Okay, because Pinterest is a social media platform. So, okay. What about you?
She's thinking hard.
I don't have one.
No?
I don't. I could touch Pinterest maybe once. Then they start flooding you with stuff because you went on there one time. I'm like, yeah. I'm not on Facebook. I have nothing to do with any of those elements. You mentioned, what was that one you just said?
YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn.
I'm not even on LinkedIn, and I should be, but I'm not. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good.
That's one of the things we have in common. Like, we really, social media is really not a big part of it. Now, like I said, I do Pinterest because I do my own nails and hair and stuff, so I'm constantly looking for ideas and stuff like that. But I have a Facebook, but I only got it because in my master's program, it was a requirement in one of my classes. I literally have like 13 friends on there. I'm not even friends with half my family. And when I go on there, I'm responding to posts like from 3 months ago, like, hey, you was in It's like, oh, we had a good time. They done came back and
wait, now Ukraine while the war is going on.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that. Another one of my friends was in Romania, and I'm like, I'm not going nowhere near that side of the earth right now. Mm-hmm. But all that to say, you know, like, yeah, we don't really do, like, I don't have an Instagram account. I don't have a TikTok account. I am on LinkedIn professionally, but only time I really go on there is to update my profile as far as career. And educational accomplishments.
Wow. I mean, I think that's good.
Yeah. I went on Facebook when it first came out, back when you had to be like a college student to get on there.
Yes.
It's connected to my college email. So I hadn't been on in a very long time. When I went to Lomo, could not remember my password. So they wanted to send me an email to my email. Well, it was my college email.
Yeah.
So I had no way of getting that. So I do have an account somewhere out there
in the universe, right?
But I had no way of logging in.
And it wasn't important enough to create it.
Yeah, so I don't have, and then by that point in my life, I was like, you know, because it can take over. Like, I think social media in general can take over.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, it's just not, I can't think of anything that really, like, intrigues me in that way. I feel like I'm better in real life.
In the real life. How about that?
I'm a very private person.
Yeah.
I get annoyed on social when I see social media people, and this is no disrespect to anybody, keep doing you, but it annoys me when people feel like they have to put every second of their life. Good morning, friends. Good morning, Facebook. Like, I got real friends I can call and say, good morning, how you feeling today? Like, I don't need Facebook friends to, you know, or just looking for that attention on Instagram and all of that kind of stuff. Like, now my mom sends me TikToks to look at because she follows certain ones, and it's comedy stuff to make you laugh, and there's nothing wrong with laughter. Laughter is good for the soul, but as far as just like people that just get so engrossed in social media, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Definitely was on it heavy. I was in college when Facebook came out, you know, so I was at the beginning of the era. However, MySpace was before that. I remember that, but you know, social media nowadays, you know, pretty much is the wave of the 21st century, at least at this point. And I'm sure by the time my kids are my age, it's going to be something else. You know, you probably think something and it'll just appear. I don't know how things are going now.
Right.
So, you know, I used to be on social media very heavy, you know, back in the day. But as I get older, don't have the same relationship with social media as I had before. If anything, I may post things personally here and again. However, use it more so for business purposes than anything else. That is the way for business right now. You kind of got to have this visual exposure. You have to, you know, people got to see you and, you know, all of these things. And so it's kind of like a fall in line kind of thing. If I'm trying to put myself in a certain way, try to put the business in a certain way, it's like I have to kind of do it, you know, but I still don't do it at the capacity that I need to in order to, like, you know, get the followers and whatnot. But it is, you know, it's crazy. I just did a social media presentation yesterday with some youth about the impact that social media has on youth mental health and stress management. And so, you know, I think I've been learning to be more in the moment. You know, I used to be the person who would go on vacation and would constantly post on vacation. Now you might know I was on vacation because I posted it, and I posted it like 2 weeks after I came back home kind of thing. It's like they're just, you know, I'm trying to just kind of be right now, you know, and that's, you know, because it can be extremely addictive and it can overwhelm you. You know, a few minutes scroll during a break turn into an hour, and then before you know it,
but see, I think that's okay. Like, if you advertise in a business or a product or a service, you know what I mean? Even if you have legitimate, valuable information to share with the community, social media is a great way to get it out there. It's just, but you have to be able to create boundaries. And, you know, if you just on there, like I said, looking for attention and things like that, that's where I kind of like step back. But somebody's like, oh yeah, I saw this person, they blogged on there and it's good information that I might find useful. I'm going on and checking it out, you know. But like you said, you have to be careful because one scroll can turn into, you know, you've been looking at your phone for an hour, scrolling through, looking at stuff, and it it can get out of control if you don't set some boundaries for
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure. Setting boundaries is important.
Mhm.
I do have a 2-hour limit on social media, and then my Instagram and Facebook will shut down. So, and there has to be a discipline too, because you can always put ignore me, so it's like, for the most part, I respect it. Like, when it's done, I think throughout the day, I only have 2 hours. So, if I want to, when I'm kind of calming down for the day, want to spend most of my time then I don't have the capacity to do it during the day, because I'm trying to reserve my minutes. So yes. All right. So Lotus Living is transcending existence by intentionally creating and sustaining a well-balanced lifestyle, overcoming adversity, and contributing to the well-being of mankind while embracing the evolution of who you were meant to become. After today, how are you going to go about living a Lotus lifestyle?
I want to further enhance my own health and well-being with making healthier choices. The same thing I try to tell my patients and share with my patients I want to do for myself with more of the plant-based and really starting to give myself more me time to actually do more of the fitness, and also just some of that meditation, and really giving myself time to work on reducing stress and things like that. And I think the other thing is really working towards, over the next year, being able to be my own boss and really be able to give patients what I feel they deserve, and help them to really live their healthiest life.
Yes. For me, I think it's just continuing the course. I'm an only child, so me time is a big part of my vocabulary. I have no challenges with getting me time in my schedule. If anybody needs some help, I can help you.
Yes, I need help.
I don't have no problem with me time. It's
I
me
need
first. But in addition to staying committed to this journey that I'm on to get my weight under control, and then just continuing in my work. I work in social services during the day and mental health at night. Like, I feel like between those two, I'm fulfilled occupationally, as far as being able to help and service people, and then just making sure that I stay in a good space with my own mind and mental health, physical health, and all of that, to be able to give to others. So
Awesome. I have gifts for you. So, of course, I have to thank you for your time, taking the time out to meet with me today and to share your gems of what it means to live a Lotus lifestyle. Thank you. Podcasters talk to their producer sometimes. I do be seeing them. But yes, want to just give a token of my appreciation to you both. Of course, because this is the Lotus Well Counseling Services and Wellness Retreat, we are all about, living healthy and well balanced and taking care of your mental, emotional health, physical health, and just living a luxury lifestyle of wellness. So hopefully everything in this bag will help you do that as we utilize the tools to continue to live that life. So I will give both of you.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming. And this has been Lotus Living with Shar. Till next time.